Morning altercation in Clemson. In this last hour, the Pickens County coroner has identified the victim as 33-year-old Robert Gambrell III from Seneca. 7 News reporter Nicole Ford has the details from the gas station where this all unfolded.
It was 2 a.m. Friday morning when Clemson police received a 911 call that led them to this 7-Eleven off Old Greenville Highway. For most of the morning, crime scene tapes circled this popular spot.
I'm here every day, and to hear that something like this happened, it's crazy to me.
Clemson police say when they arrived on scene after receiving a call that there was a fight, a man had locked himself inside the store and started destroying the inside.
It makes me question whether I want to come here or not. I mean, I stop here every day before work, and it just doesn't feel safe, right?
Officers say the original call was from someone who was attempting to assist the man with a motorcycle that wouldn't start. When officers made their way into the store, that man then charged them. But officers were able to get him under control and transport him by ambulance. But they tell 7 News at some point he became unresponsive and died.
I did pass through here last night, and I seen just a dude standing outside.
Clemson police say they are now turning over the case to SLED, but the community feels there are a lot of questions still to be answered.
Was the cashier feeling threatened? Was the cashier outside smoking? Was this a regular customer?
Now for where the case stands, SLED is still investigating. In Clemson, Nicole Ford, 7 News.
The Pickens County coroner is conducting an autopsy on Gambrell to determine the cause of death.
The Asheville police officer accused of beating an accused jaywalker on video will not face federal civil rights charges. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of North Carolina says they've investigated Christopher Hickman's case and say there's no evidence to prosecute him. He is accused of beating a black jaywalker named Johnny Rush last August. He lost his job with Asheville police earlier this year and still faces assault charges in the state of North Carolina. A North Carolina man still in custody in Montana, accused of killing 2 people, including an Asheville woman. He's Donald Gray Jr., charged with murder in the death of Tamara Gibson. Gibson was reported missing in Asheville May 22nd. In Kansas, she was found dead between 2 buildings a week later. Her car was found burned in Wyoming. And Gray is facing murder, kidnapping, and robbery charges in Asheville. He's also in custody in Montana for a separate murder, accused of killing an 81-year-old man. Asheville police say they are not sure if Gray will be extradited back to the Tar Heel state to answer for those charges or be charged in Montana first. Spartanburg County deputies say they've arrested a man who sexually assaulted a 13-year-old. They say Brian Keith Smith of Spartanburg is charged with criminal sexual conduct with a minor, 3rd degree. Reports from deputies say Tuesday, Smith admitted to groping a 13-year-old in a hotel room on Asheville Highway. Smith was arrested Tuesday, paid bond, and got out of jail the same day.
New tonight, emergency crews are on the scene of a church bus crash that's happened in North Myrtle Beach. The bus is from Ridge Baptist Church. That's from the Richmond, Virginia area. According to Horry County Fire and Rescue, there were 11 kids and 2 adults on the bus when it was hit by a pickup truck. 3 people are critically injured, 1 child and 1 adult from that bus, plus a passenger in the pickup. We'll keep you updated on air and on WSPA.com as we get you new details tonight. Authorities in Maryland are uncovering more evidence for a possible motive in Thursday's deadly attack at a newspaper office. Today, a judge ordered the suspect held without bond. Kenneth Craig has the latest from Annapolis, Maryland.
Jared Ramos is behind bars, held on 5 counts of first-degree murder.
The fellow was there to kill as many people as he could kill.
Prosecutors say the 38-year-old hunted down employees at the office of the Capital Gazette Thursday afternoon and opened fire with the shotgun.
We brought to the judge's attention the evidence that suggested a coordinated attack, the barricading of a back door, and the use of a tactical approach.
They say he planned to escape when police arrived and found him hiding under a desk.
Within 2 minutes, they were pushing in on the suspect and starting to get him cornered and not let him hurt anybody else.
Even though they became the story, the journalists who survived continued to do their jobs. This morning, they still published their daily paper with the front page about the horror that unfolded inside their newsroom.
Ramos had a bitter history with the Capital Gazette. In 2012, he sued the paper for defamation for publishing a story about his harassment conviction involving a former high school classmate. He lost the suit and then began harassing journalists.
In May of 13, we did have a situation where online threatening comments were made.
Police say the Capitol did not want to exacerbate the situation and ultimately decided not to pursue criminal charges. 4 journalists and a sales assistant were killed in the shooting. The city of Annapolis is holding a tribute and vigil in their honor tonight. Kenneth Craig, CBS News, Annapolis, Maryland.
Meantime, President Trump paid tribute to the victims in this deadly shooting at a news conference today, calling the shooting an attack that shocked the nation, filling our hearts with grief.
Journalists, like all Americans, should be free from the fear of being violently attacked while doing their job. To the families of the victims, there are no words to express our sorrow for your loss.
The president said his administration would continue working to reduce violent crime and protect innocent life. Meantime, a GoFundMe page started by fellow journalists has already raised more than $125,000 toward funeral costs.
The Greenville Women's Clinic, the only one in the upstate that provides abortions, will pay $19,000 in fines for mishandling what DHEC calls infectious waste. The state launched an investigation into the clinic after complaints about its waste practices. DHEC reviewed a video that shows a clinic worker taking waste from the facility to a nearby Quick Trip and loading it into a transport vehicle. Clinic's attorney says that tells DHEC they had no choice because the transporter refused to pick up the waste at the clinic. Transporter says they did agree to a meeting in an alternate location, but that was at the request of the women's clinic. Both the clinic and the transporter have been fined by DHEC.
We're getting you some new details tonight about a woman whose body was found 3 years after she was supposed to be cremated. The family of Mary Alice Pitts Moore has filed this lawsuit against First Family Funeral Home and its owners, where her decaying body was found. Reporter Brianna Smith has the story.
For 3 years behind these doors, Mary Alice Pitts Moore's body decomposed in a back room, while her family thought she'd been cremated.
It was just appalling. I mean, that was my reaction.
First Family Funeral Home's license is now suspended, and we learned the owner, Lawrence Meadows, had his license revoked years earlier, with many clients alleging he continued to work as a funeral director. State law enforcement is still investigating, but Moore's family has now filed this lawsuit against the funeral home.
Because we felt like they need to be punished.
Moore's family says that First Family Funeral held the service in their former Greenwood location and then had paid in full for her body to be cremated.
And they were waiting on some ashes to be delivered, and they never were. They would keep calling.
They never received those ashes, and lawyer Chris Spradley believes routine inspections missed signs that First Family may have been operating inappropriately. Moore's family hopes their story will now protect others.
Something's got to change. Something's got to change somewhere.
Now that is our Brianna Smith reporting. First Family's attorney has asked for some of the lawsuit to be dismissed in a hearing that has not been set yet. The state law enforcement division says their case into First Family and Lawrence Meadows is ongoing.
An upstate doctor and physician's assistant accused of conspiring to illegally hand out painkillers. The warrants say Blake and Amanda Letch of Pain Management Associates conspired to dispense prescriptions for hydrocodone and oxycodone that had been pre-signed by Dr. Blake Letch. The arrest warrants were signed more than 2 weeks ago, but a patient of Dr. Letch tells 7 News she was never told of their arrest and how it would affect her medication until she showed up for a refill.
We're talking about people that's got extremely debilitating conditions. You know, people with crushed spines, people that can't function at all in any capacity without their medication. From what I've been told, they didn't call anyone.
Called the clinic. They told us they did not have a comment. We've also reached out to Pain Management Associates Council and have not heard back from them.
As Greenville grows, it probably comes as no surprise to you that the homeless population in the city is also rising. It's why the new Greenville Homeless Alliance was created earlier this year following a grassroots push forming out of the tent city that grew in 2014. Their goal is to reduce the amount of time somebody is homeless and keep homelessness from expanding. Tonight, we want to get to our reporter, Aaron Rogers, who's joining us in downtown Greenville live tonight with more on this important work. Aaron.
Well, Amy, one of the studies the Alliance did was looking at homelessness in downtown Greenville and its impact to taxpayers. They found out that the community pays around $50,000 for every person who's chronically homeless, and that number is just for medical bills.
So we have nothing now.
For the past 7 months, Jeremy Momborg has called this hideaway under the Pete Hollis Bridge, better known to him as Camp Peace, home.
We're staying right there right now until I figure out what to do.
Earlier this week, Greenville County told him and the 25 other people living in this alley they had to go.
Or we'll get kicked out or arrested.
This is just a picture of the life Momborg knows well. He's now been living on the streets half his life, ever since he was 16.
So I really couldn't go home or else I'd get hurt. So I left.
And even though he has a job paying $10 an hour, it's still hard for him to make that American dream reality.
You know, I gotta eat, I gotta pay the bus, you know, I gotta feed my girlfriend and me, you know, and it's hard to save money.
Up under the bridge.
It's people like Momborg the Greenville Homeless Alliance is trying to help.
We can connect them to safe and stable housing, but we can also save our community dollars.
They say the lack of affordable housing is driving the problem.
But we know where we're seeing really significant gentrification happening. We have our highest numbers of children who are homeless in those particular areas.
A reality Tori Hill faced after getting divorced and evicted before finding the Homeless Alliance.
I didn't want to come across as homeless. I thought that was a stigma that I didn't want my kids to go through.
The program gave her resources like a financial advisor, put her in transitional housing, and eventually her own home.
My 18-year-old, he was like, who's going to help us? And so now he doesn't have that mindset. Now he's like, people really care about you genuinely.
Now the Alliance is working to find the true number of homeless in our community. They say the data that they get only tracks the number of people who actually are in shelters, and that number we know is very low, coming in around 600 people. Live in downtown Greenville, I'm Aaron Rogers, 7 News.
Yeah, but you think about 600 people in that mom's position, you know, trying to take care of kids and keep things rolling. How accurate are these numbers, Aaron, and are they counting those children?
Yeah, Amy, so that number I'm told is very low because they know for a fact that just in Greenville County schools, they know about 1,000 students are homeless. So you think those students have parents, so that number is definitely growing. They know that the elementary school with the most homeless students is Blythe Elementary, and Greenville High has the number of most homeless students out of the high schools. Amy?
There's lots of work to do in our community, Aaron. Thank you.
Flames tear